Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hadith of Sahih al-Bukhari 4814. We talked about it in the last lecture that Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu said, that I heard it from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that between the two trumpets, between the blowing of the two trumpets, there is 40. And we talked about the details of that. In the same hadith towards the end, قال أبيت ويبلى كل شيء من الإنسان إلا عجب ذنبه فيه يركب الخلق. He said that from the human body, nothing will remain. Everything will decay except the tailbone. And from that bone, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reconstruct the whole body. Now we will talk about several different things related to this tailbone, which is, in the words of hadith, called ajba dhanbihi, his tailbone, ajba dhanb. So what exactly that is? Well, if you look at the work of shariheen and ulama, they have written quite detail on it, and they said, this is towards the end of the human backbone, and this is softer bone. And Ibn Abi Dunya narrates it from Abi Said al-Khudri radiyallahu anhu, and he said it was asked of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that what is this al-ajab? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that this is something as small as a mustard seed. Now, Allama Aini rahimahullah, in the details of this hadith, he writes that the same al-ajab is also called ajam, and it is one of the first things that is created of a man. And this is one of the first things that stays back, or this is the only thing that stays back from which the humans will be created again. And when it is asked, what is the significance of keeping this bone, its decaying process is very, very slow, by the way. It's just the slowest decaying bone. And when it exists in a very, very minute form. You probably may not be able to recognize that it exists. Allama ibn Uqayl says that only Allah knows best as to why this particular bone is there, but remember, it has your genetic code. Everything from your human body has your genes in it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who can create things out of nothing, however, will create the human beings again from this particular bone, or any molecule or particle of this bone that will exist in the environment, which has the gene code of the person. And it is also said that this particular bone, in whatever form it is, exists so that the angels can find it. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. And remember Uzair alayhi salam, when he passed away for 100 years, or slept for 100 years, when he woke up, he found the bones of his donkey, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala started creating the donkey from the bones. Now there is one very important concept over here, which I want to talk about, that why mustard seed? Well, there are several reasons. Number one, that mustard seed has this potential for growth. Means just as a tiny mustard seed grows into a large and thriving plant, human possesses immense potential within them, capable of tremendous growth in knowledge, character, and achievement. Also, the mustard seed, though small, creates a significant impact when it matures, much like how individuals, regardless of their size or background, can make profound differences. Similarly, a mustard seed thrives in diverse environments, showcasing adaptability and resilience, qualities that humans often demonstrate when they're faced with challenges and change. And if you look at mustard seed being a symbolic thing in nature of faith and hope, so in various culture and religion, or religious texts or cultures, mustard seed symbolizes faith and the belief that even the smallest effort or hope can bring about significant change. Humans are driven by such beliefs and hopes in their own lives, and also the word mustard seed is used in Arabic language to represent something extremely small in nature. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam could have talked about atoms. However, people would not have understood. So he used something that people commonly understood back in Arabia, so that they may understand that something as small as that. So the whole of the human body will decay except for this tailbone, from its body, and that will be used to recreate the human being on the Day of Judgment. So the comparison to a mustard seed likely emphasizes how small and seemingly insignificant the tailbone is, yet it holds great importance in the process of resurrection. Now, here comes another statement that, okay, the tailbone is made of fused vertebra and is more durable than other bones, but it can still decompose over a long period of time. And it is true that the tailbone can often be one of the last parts of the human body to decompose due to its dense structure. However, this decaying process doesn't mean it completely vanishes. It may exist in one form or the other. Now, here comes another question that, okay, the cremation is if a human body is cremated, then the tailbone is gone. Well, cremation does not convert bones into ashes, as some people may think. Cremated remains get ground for being relatively big and hard, despite the fact that the body get burned for several hours in the cremation room. But after the whole process is done, everything doesn't turn to dust or ash. So what exactly happens? Well, during the cremation, the tailbone, like all bones, is exposed to extreme high temperatures like 1400 to 1800 degree Fahrenheit, which is roughly around 760 to 982 degrees Celsius or centigrade. While soft tissues and organs are completely burned away, bones do not turn to ashes on their own. Instead, they become brittle and fragment. The tailbone, being a small and dense bone, may leave behind some small fragments after cremation. However, these fragments are usually processed into a fine powder along with the rest of the skeletal remains using a special thing called the cremulator. This is a machine that grinds the remaining bone fragments into ashes. So it's not completely gone by fire alone. It gets reduced to small fragments and eventually to ash. So things still exist in some form, just so that you understand that. Now here comes another question. Okay, it has been said by Allama Aini rahimahullah that it is one of the first things to be created. But we know that in the human body, the first bone to be created is the collarbone. Well, if you study it deeper, you will come to know that embryonic tail is the first to appear very early in human development. And this embryonic tail develops in the 4th week of the gestation period, as opposed to the collarbone comes into existence or starts forming somewhere around 5th to 6th week of gestation. So this embryonic tail appears before bones, but it is not a fully formed skeletal structure. Even though majority of the embryonic tail is absorbed by the body by the 8th week of gestation, the remaining part of this tail is the one that forms the tailbone. So basically, it is one of the first things to be created. The tailbone is one of the first things to be created eventually, which turns into the tailbone through the process of embryonic tail turning into tailbone before any of the other bones are created. So that's exactly was, such a long time ago, this kind of information was presented. It itself is eye-opening. And with the period of time as we did more research, now we are trying to understand the things that we never fully understood before. Similarly, there is a hadith in Sahih Muslim that when the body is buried, Abi Hurairah radiallahu anhu said that this particular bone, the tailbone, is the one that doesn't completely it doesn't completely disappears, as reported by Imam Muslim. And when you look at the work of Ibn al-Mulqan, and by the way, who is Ibn al-Mulqan? He is commonly known as Ibn al-Mulqan, but his name was Umar, the son of Ali, the son of Ahmed. And he was of the Shafi'i madhab, and he's commonly known as Ibn al-Mulqan. And he passed away in 804 Hijrah, which is like 600 some years ago. And his work at Tawdih al-Sharh al-Jami' al-Sahih, when in volume number 23, page 183 and 184, is where I am telling you all of these details that are put together by Ibn al-Mulqan. that he said when this part of the human bone remains, and he quotes the narrations in this, and he said that other beings which have the bone structures will also come to life using the same ideology. And also, if you look at the work of Allama ibn Hajar Asqalani, who passed away 50 years after Ibn al-Mulqan, in Fath al-Bari, volume 5, page 803, he also made a similar statement. And so did Allama Aini, who is another person who wrote the sharh or details or explaining the hadith of Sahih al-Bukhari. And similarly, if you look at the work of Az-Zarhuni, who passed away much recently, like in 1318 Hijrah, and if you probably have never heard of Az-Zarhuni, he goes by the name of Muhammad al-Fudayl, the son of al-Fatimi al-Shabihi, Az-Zarhuni, and his work Al-Fajr al-Sati', volume number 11, page number 111, he also represented the similar opinion. So when you read Sahih Muslim, book number 41, hadith number 7023, it states that before the second trumpet will be blown, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would cause to send rain, or would send rain, which would be like dew. It will be a dense water, and when it will hit the ground, all the bodies of the people will grow out. And when the second trumpet is blown, then the souls will enter into their bodies, and souls will recognize the bodies in which they have to go, and then they will be put in those bodies. So that's basically the process that will happen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for all of us, all the stages in this life and hereafter. May Allah be pleased with us. Ameen. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammad.